for having me, and I'm sorry that I can't do this in Spanish, but this is going to be much better. So I thought first what I would do is actually give a bit of my background before the work that I'm doing now in Finland, just as a bit of context. So most of my design work has been in stuff like this, so more or less bread and butter architecture. And working on buildings like this, I started to realize that actually what I was thinking about was what those buildings enable. What kinds of things happened inside those buildings.
Primero, disculpas por no poder hacer esta presentación en español, les agradezco mucho por estar acá. Primero voy a estar hablando un poco sobre mis antecedentes y mi trabajo en Finlandia, edificios así, en los cuales la arquitectura de los edificios llegan a estos resultados, y mi idea era también pensar qué permiten estos edificios y qué ocurre dentro de ellos.
And so having an interest in the way that the building shapes the interactions and the things that happen inside of it, if that's where the desire lays, then what you have to do is start engaging the things that enable that building to happen. So to have more of an impact on the way that buildings shape our behaviors, we have to have an impact on the way that we shape our buildings, which means engaging in things like building codes and policies and regulations, financing, all of these structural components.
De este modo es como nuestros intereses son los que van a darle forma a los edificios. Entonces, si el punto de enfoque está en las interacciones y en qué ocurre dentro de los edificios, justamente si el impacto está ahí, entonces tenemos que prestar atención a qué forma le damos a los edificios si lo que nos interesa es el comportamiento que ocurre adentro. Entonces hay que prestar atención a cosas como los códigos, las políticas y las regulaciones que ocurren dentro de ellos.
And so that then brings us to the work that we're doing now at Sitra. So Sitra is the Finnish Innovation Fund, and we were started in 1967, which was a time that was actually quite interesting and exciting for design. The 60s were sort of rife with rethinking what society could be. And Sitra at that time was created. It's not a design organization, we're an innovation fund, and we report to the parliament. But we have an endowment from the Bank of Finland, which means that we're a neutral advisor to the government, and we have our own funds which allow us to work beyond the election cycle. So our focus is on the future of Finland, thinking sort of 10, 20, 30, 40 years into the future, and how we help then the country, and especially the economy of the country, weather whatever challenges come our way.
Entonces el trabajo que estoy realizando ahora en Sitra, que es el Fondo de Innovación de Finlandia, estamos ahora haciendo una retrospectiva. Empezamos en 1967, eran años muy interesantes, los años 60, para repensar un poco lo que era la sociedad, y fue un momento muy interesante para el diseño. Nosotros no somos una sociedad de diseño, sino un fondo de innovación. Nosotros debemos presentar informes al Parlamento, pero tenemos también fondos donados por ellos, y lo que pensamos nosotros es en el futuro de Finlandia, de aquí a 30, 40 años, y incluimos temas económicos en este pensamiento.
And actually in 1968, one of the first things that Sitra did, by coincidence almost, was sponsor a design conference. And at that time, there wasn't an idea of product design. So products were made by engineers, and designers were working on crafts for the most part. It wasn't industrialized. And at this point, we brought together a group of people who were really cutting across many different disciplines. So design, yes, but also media, journalism, people from the engineering sector, all of the different areas. Obviously, I wasn't there, but people like Buckminster Fuller here, and if we look long enough, we'll find Victor Papanek. So some of the key people from design at that time were part of the event. And really it was about bringing these different communities together to visualize how they might cooperate on something in the future. And at that time it was, how do we make more intelligent products?
Entonces, en el año 68, una de las primeras actividades que hizo Citra justamente fue sponsorear una conferencia de diseño. Fue un poco de casualidad. En ese momento el diseño no se ocupaba de diseñar productos, eso lo hacían los ingenieros. Entonces, esta conferencia un poco se trató de agrupar gente de distintas disciplinas que tenían que ver con los medios, con el periodismo y distintas áreas de la ingeniería. Obviamente yo no estaba ahí, pero las personas claves del diseño de ese momento estaban presentes y esta conferencia lo que hizo también fue unir diferentes comunidades que pensaron diferentes formas de hacer las cosas.
So that was 60s, and at that time there was a lot of attention to things that are quite familiar to us today. So the climate was actually a question at that point, and there was a lot of talk about how the rate of change is changing. So it feels like the world is moving quicker and quicker each day, and it feels like the questions that we're encountering in the 60s were new questions that we didn't have the right tools to answer. And at the time, the proposal was that designers could play a part in that designers could be an effective element of figuring out the way to address these big challenges. And so 40 years later, when the design unit started at Citra, we had a blank slate in a way. And we chose, partially because of the development of the system in Finland, that instead of focusing on the relationship between companies and designers, that we would actually look at the relationship between designers and the government and try to think about the ways that, and in a sense, we could shape decisions with the same level of care and craft that we shape traditionally products, buildings, graphics, communications.
En los 60 entonces se prestaba mucha atención a los objetos y a las cosas que nos resultaban familiares. Los clientes seguían siendo como un signo de interrogación en cierta forma y estábamos hablando mucho de la relación que se presentaba con los diferentes cambios. El mundo estaba avanzando muy rápidamente y las preguntas resultaban todas nuevas y a veces no teníamos las herramientas correctas para contestarlas. El diseño tuvo un rol fundamental en hacer de estas decisiones y de contestar estas preguntas de manera eficiente y eficaz. 40 años después teníamos una página en blanco en cuanto al desarrollo del sistema y en vez de pensar tanto las relaciones entre los clientes y las empresas, lo que pensamos es la relación entre el diseño y el gobierno, en cómo formar decisiones y cómo darle forma a estas decisiones con el mismo cuidado y habilidad con el que decidíamos sobre la forma de los productos.
And part of this is also thinking about then the kinds of questions that designers traditionally are engaged in. And what we realize is effectively that by the time many clients come to a designer, key decisions have already been made, right? So let's say somebody comes to me and asks me to help them design a new interface. In thinking through an interface on, I don't know, a phone, I might actually start to think about the relationship between that interface and the hardware. And then in thinking about that, I might start questioning the relationship between the hardware and its, let's say, packaging, its marketing. Then I might start thinking about, well, actually, maybe there are other business opportunities. Maybe it's not just about the interface and the hardware, but also, in the case of Apple, for instance, what you use the phone to do. Where is the iTunes or the equivalent, that ecosystem around it? But then you can go even further and say, maybe this isn't really the right business segment. So you can keep stepping back and back and back, and at each one of those points, what the designer brings or has the potential to bring is that holistic view. So how do these things not just exist as points on a line, but how do they tie together into one thing that is greater than the sum of its parts?
Entonces los diferentes tipos de diseñadores, muchas veces ocurre que cuando el cliente llega al diseñador, las decisiones clave ya han sido tomadas. Por ejemplo, a mí vienen y me piden diseñar la interfaz de un teléfono. Entonces yo ahí primero lo relaciono con el hardware, luego con el packaging, que ya es parte del marketing, después con otras oportunidades como puede ocurrir con Apple, que tiene que ver con qué hacemos exactamente con el teléfono. Pero creo que estar más allá, se puede ir más allá, desarrollar otros segmentos de negocios y me parece que el diseño puede lograr esta visión holística que creo que crea algo que es más que la suma de sus partes.
So if this is the case, then we're really talking about designers who are involved at as early a stage as possible and are playing a kind of role of connector or glue. And that also has implications for the way that we practice. So designers, in many cases, are used to working by themselves. There are tons of small, in Finland we have, most of those shops are just a few people. And when they're not working by themselves, we're used to working in studios or ateliers, where we're surrounded by designers.
Siempre ocurre que los diseñadores muchas veces trabajan como conectores o como un poco como el pegamento que une los elementos. Pero muchas veces los diseñadores trabajan solos o trabajan en grupos pequeños y siempre están con otros diseñadores.
But one of the questions that we're asking is what happens when you work in a much more mixed context?
La pregunta entonces es ¿qué pasa si trabajamos en un contexto más mixto?
What happens when the designer is the minority and that we're actually embedded in another kind of organization? So in Citra, we have about 115 people, but 4 of us are in the design unit. So the balance is much different than working in a design studio, for instance. But what we gain from that is the ability to connect to and impact all those other kinds of work that are going on.
¿Qué pasa si entonces los diseñadores somos una minoría? Si en diferentes organizaciones funcionamos donde, por ejemplo, en nuestra organización somos 115 personas y el porcentaje de diseñadores es muchísimo menor. Entonces, lo que logramos es ganar la capacidad de conectar con otros y de lograr un impacto. Somos solo 4 diseñadores.
So then, it's always dangerous to refer to something from the local context when you're making a talk, when you don't know it as well as people from that place. But one of the challenges that we see at the moment is that essentially the way that we organize our companies, but also our governments and our universities, are in silos. And those silos, over the years, we've developed deeper and deeper knowledge in particular areas. So we know, not just chemistry versus physics, but astrophysics. And not just astrophysics, but some really tiny, tiny detail within that. And while that's important, and we've certainly realized incredible gains for health and human happiness, prosperity over the past century or so, it also means that we've, in some sense, in the way that Borges talks about it, we've built a map that no longer helps us. It's so difficult to look at that we don't have the way to see the relationships anymore, right? So the good thing about a map is that it helps us see the relationships in something that's much larger than we could ever see alone.
A veces es peligroso hacer citas de cosas locales, pero bueno, un poco como dijo Borges, es la forma en que organizamos la información. Muchas veces en etapas recientes está todo muy compartimentado, entonces creo que el conocimiento se pone cada vez más profundo, vamos de la química a la astrofísica y cada vez más en detalle. Y es importante, por supuesto, para el bienestar de la gente, pero también, como decía Borges, y cito, ¿le pones? Como decía Borges un poco sobre el mapa de una provincia que a veces se pone cada vez más detallado, que no logramos observarlo y no logramos mirar la relación entre las cosas.
So at the moment then, again, one of the challenges I think for the design community is try to imagine how we can help connect those silos. Because that's something that actually comes quite naturally to many in design practice, is the ability to synthesize different kinds of points of view, different inputs into one thing.
Entonces, lo importante es cómo conectar estos compartimentos y cómo realizar la información de forma de sintetizar los contenidos y que todos tengan relación unos con otros.
And it's also about deciding what's inside a problem and what's outside a problem. So in the context of this, which is one of the power plants we have in Helsinki, it's the most energy efficient plant in the world, right? But it's coal. So although it's incredibly efficient, is it efficient in the right thing? While it delivers the highest level of return on processing and turning coal into energy, it also still produces massive greenhouse gases.
Entonces hay que decidir qué elementos están dentro del problema y cuáles están por afuera, porque esta, por ejemplo, es la planta más eficiente a nivel energético, pero está propulsada a carbón. Entonces hay que ver si es eficiente dentro del ámbito correcto, porque tiene grandes índices de retorno, es muy eficiente, pero tiene una emisión de gases de efecto invernadero que es enorme.
So same thing with